Hello, everybody. I am live today, so welcome back. If you're new here, hi, I'm Mercury. Yeah, I've only done a live stream on this channel just one time, and that was my thank you live stream when I hit 1,000 viewers. So it's been a while, and my new camera can be a webcam, and it's a much better quality picture. So I figure we'll go live, we'll give it a try. And if anyone joins us and has questions, today we are going to be focusing on the cruise that I just got back from. Awesome. Awesome. So excited. I had such a good time. So, number one, I do not speak for the brand or the company. Anything that I talk about in this video is just my own personal opinions and my own experiences while I was sailing. So, that being said, I guess let's just get on into it, right? Also because I'm not used to live streaming, I have like my monitor here, my camera here. So if I'm looking here, I'm checking to see if there's anything going on the screen or the chat or anything I need to be sort of paying attention to respond to. But I think I'm figuring this out. I think I got it. Yeah, so I just got back a little while ago. I've been home for, a couple of weeks actually. Um, I sailed actually at a very interesting time. I sailed out there in between hurricanes. So I sailed out there after Hurricane Debbie, but before Hurricane Ernesto. So going out there, the waves were a little bit rough compared to coming home. It was a much smoother ride coming home. So, like I said, if you were paying attention to the tropics and the weather, I've been home for a little bit at this point. But, the videos post, like, every couple of days, so we're finally catching up to the end of the cruise videos. So, with that, there are some questions. People have some questions, so I pulled some topics that have come up in the comments, but I've also pulled from, like, when I tell people, "Hey, I'm taking time off," and, like, "Oh, what are you doing? Where are you going?" And then I say, "I'm going on a cruise." Then they have questions for me, like, they've never cruised before. So I've sort of pulled questions from both, my viewers and what people just ask me about in general when they learn that I like to go on cruises. So, one of the first questions I get asked is sort of like, why do I like cruising? Why Mercury? Why do you do this? Why do you want to be on a ship and out to sea? And for me, I like it for a lot of reasons. I feel like number one, it's a customizable trip, right? Like you can do as much or you could do as little as you want, and there's no right or wrong to it. It's all good. It's all good. Um, to do on board. Every ship is different. So that's one of the factors in deciding which ship to take, what sailing to go on. Um, and that's one of the things to take into consideration. Some of the newer ships might have more dining options, newer shows or different shows. Some sailings will have like an actual Broadway, like copyrighted show, and others will have like their own, independent production that's like Broadway style. So that's one consideration for it. Another consideration is like poolside, right? Like all of the ships have pools, but they're different sizes, different styles. Some of them have water slides. Some of them have the flow rider, which is a lot of fun in my opinion. It is a little dangerous, so it's not for everybody. But that's like the buoy board and like surfing on board. And then some of them have other activities. Like I've been on ships with like bumper cars, or there's mini golf, and there's ships with ice skating, which also be careful while you're at sea if you do the ice skating. You don't want to fall and go boom. That's no fun. But ice skating itself is fun. Falling and going boom is no fun. um, there's one ship that has, like, indoor skydiving, like it's an air tube, like a wind tube that you can go in. So there's like all these different options for things to do on board. And then there's like lounges and clubs and entertainment. And then during the day, they have trivia and scavenger hunts and yeah, like crafts that you can do. If there's kids, they have kids clubs. So like for different age groups. I don't have kids, so I don't know too much about them, but I do know there's like the younger kids club, and then there's like the older kids club, and it's catered for them and their age group, so they will not be bored either. So there's stuff for everybody, is sort of what I'm getting at. And if you don't want to partake in those activities and you just want to sit and read a book, you sit and read a book. If you're done sitting and reading a book and you want to go cool down in the pool, you go and you get your bathing suit and you cool down in the pool. You're done in the pool, you're like, "Oh, I'm getting hungry. Oh, the Windjammer's open. Let's go to the buffet. Let's get some lunch." You finish with lunch, you're like, "What do I wanna do? I don't know. Let's check the cruise compass and see what's going on." And then you find out there's napkin folding, and then you go and learn how to fold some napkins, right? So it's sort of like a choose your own adventure kind of a situation, and, that's great because it's like on sea days, you just sort of you go with it. If there's stuff going on, you go and engage, and if there's nothing that you wanna do, you do your own thing, and both are awesome. And it goes to ports, right? It goes places, right? The ship is taking you to see the world. So then you go to ports, and then you could do excursions, and you could see the different ports. And it's just a great way of sort of getting like the best of both worlds, in my opinion. It's like you get to go and have your own adventures. You get to see different cultures. You get to learn different things. Um, some have all sorts of different types of excursions depending on the port that you're going to. And then you have your relaxing days on the ship where, you're just like I said, you do your choose your own adventure kind of a thing. So, yeah, that's the long-winded answer to why I like cruising. Um, yeah, so that was one question that I get. Another question I get is, "What is your favorite ship, Mercury?" That one's hard to answer, and it sort of depends on what I'm in the mood for. There's advantages and disadvantages to different ships that I've sailed on. I will say the ship that I have sailed the most on is Anthem of the Sea. Now, Anthem has been repositioned, so the ratio of me sailing on Anthem is probably going to change, but because Anthem was sailing from the local port, it was one of the easier ships for me to sail on. But Anthem is also the ship that had the bumper cars. It had the indoor skydiving. It had a lot of features. It also had some nice dining options, like with the Solarium Bistro and the Cafe 270. And I really love the show, the main show that was on Anthem. I don't know if it's still the main show on Anthem, but that's the Queen We Will Rock You. That's one of my favorite shows. On this recent sailing with Liberty of the Seas, if you saw my review of Entertainment, the show on Liberty of the Seas just now was Saturday Night Fever, and they turned it into a Broadway style musical. So I had mixed feelings on that one. But in terms of like the shows that I've seen on board, I think it was on Oasis of the Seas that they had cats. So I got to see cats on Oasis. Um, I'm trying to remember what show was on Icon. Oh, Wizard of Oz. Wizard of Oz was on Icon. So the show varies ship to ship. So that may be a factor in which ship you choose is what show you want to see because that can come up, right? Um, but yeah, I've sailed on as far as my favorite ship. I've sailed on Anthem the most. I don't know if that makes it my favorite or not, but I do enjoy sailing on Anthem. My only struggle with Anthem is trying to find, like, a quiet spot to read, especially if I was sailing, in sort of, like, the a change of weather season or a cooler season, like where it's leaving the north when it's still cold out, which brings everyone indoors. And then it's like when we get down to the Caribbean, everyone's outdoors, everyone's enjoying the pool deck, so it's not as difficult to find those quiet spots. But if the weather is chilly or rainy and everyone is indoors, Anthem doesn't have a ton of quiet spots. Like its library is in the corner of um, the 270, which is like a big venue on that ship, and it's used all throughout the day, not just at like evening time. So it's a little bit mixed for the quiet spots for reading. Liberty of the Seas had a lot of quiet spots. So if you do want a ship that does have those like kind of carve outs where it's going to be a little bit quieter, if you need a little less, like if you get overstimulated and you need a place to like chill that's not your stateroom, Liberty of the Seas does have that. They had the library, which really was sort of this, I don't know, walkway area between the elevator banks. But they called that the library. But they also had the card room, which seemed to be a very relaxed, tucked away area. So that was another option. So there definitely were more of those type of carve outs on Liberty of the Seas. Um, as far as water slides though, Icon of the Seas had the best water slides. They had like a full on water park. They had a ton of slides on that ship. Liberty of the Seas had 3 slides, and one of those slides, you have to have a buddy to go on. It's a two-person slide, and because I was sailing solo, I did not get to go on it. And then the day that I was gonna go on water slides for the other 2 slides, it was so busy on deck. I was just like, I wasn't feeling it. So I actually did not do the water slides on Liberty of the Seas, but they did look like a lot of fun. So it's sort of hard to say like which is my favorite ship because there's a lot of options out there. And again, it just sort of depends what you're in the mood for. So that's what I have to say about that question. And my next question that I get a lot is like there are times that like I don't get off the ship on port days and like I stay on board. And why would I do that? Why would I stay on the ship on a port day? Well, there are sometimes benefits to doing that. I tend to do that at ports I've been to quite often, or there's not like an excursion that I really want to do, or there's not a lot like very local to the port area that I want to do, or it's just someplace I've been multiple times. So, an example of that would be like Nassau. Nassau is a port that a lot of cruise ships go to on a lot of different itineraries. So I've ended up stopping there multiple times at this point. So it's sort of like I don't feel like I'm missing out if I choose to stay on the ship when it's on at port there. And the other thing is so many people get off the ship at port. If there's certain things you want to do on the ship, it's less crowded. It's less crowded. So if it's great for like if you want that to be your water slide day, or your pool day, and you don't want it to be like super crowded or have to struggle to find a beach chair or any of those other struggles that come up when there's a lot of people hanging out on ship at the same time, you have a little bit more elbow room. So that would be sort of the reason to stay on board. I'm kind of trying to strike a balance where it's like, if there's stuff that I really want to do on the ship and I'm really not going to get to it unless I stay on the ship during port day, I'll make time for it by doing that. But I'm also actively trying to get off the ship and see the ports that I'm going to and take that in a bit more than I had in recent time. You could tell by this recent trip to Bermuda, I took the ferry and I went over to Hamilton, which I love Bermuda. I love Bermuda. It's such a wonderful island. It's so comfortable. It's so laid back. Um, People are friendly and willing to talk to you, and you could just walk around. And it's a magnificent island to visit. It's beautiful. I enjoy going to Bermuda. I really do. Um, but yeah, I'm trying to actively take time and spend time at the ports that we're stopping at. So yeah, that's my thoughts, sort of like being on the ship on port days versus going out and seeing port. Um, I'm looking at some of my questions, sorry. And I think I pre-answered my next question, which is why you may have seen a slightly confused look on my face. Some of the other questions that I've gotten are sort of about like Crown and Anchor and like points levels and tiers. And because I had mentioned on the Sailing on Liberty of the Seas that I was at Emerald tier, and my next sailing that I go on, I will be Diamond level. So my understanding, and again, I don't work for Royal Caribbean, so this is not official by any means. This is just my understanding as a person who cruises. Um, my understanding is that you only gain points by sailing. There's no other way to gain points. There are sometimes different promotions going on where you might get like extra points. I know like after the world shut down and cruising resumed, once things started opening up, um, they were doing promotions. So when I sailed on the Oasis of the Seas cruise, I got double points because that was like a promotion that they were doing to try to incentivize cruising again. Another time that I get double points is when I'm cruising solo and I have to pay the single supplement. Meaning if I'm cruising solo, there are a few cabins that are designed for single travelers. When I sail on Anthem, there's a video that I've done where I had a solo cabin, and I had I was going to say a small balcony, but actually on the solo cabin, that was a huge balcony. The balcony was actually about as big as the room, and I thought that was really interesting. But that solo cabin, because it's only designed for one person, they're not going to book more than one person into it. They do not charge the single supplement on that cabin. So you don't get the double points when sailing on in that cabin. But like this last sailing where I was on Liberty, I just booked a standard interior view room. And that had a single supplement on it, which basically means like they know that there's not a second person who's going to be, spending money on the ship in like the casino or with a dining package or, an excursion. So they say if you're a solo traveler, you have to pay the single supplement fee. It's just like a standard thing that's sort of done in the cruise industry. So because I had to pay the single supplement fee on this trip with On Liberty of the Seas, I got double points, and you get 1 point per night that you're sailing. So it was a 5-night sailing. So if I was sailing with somebody else, I would have gotten 5 points. But because I got double points, I got 10 points. And that kind of pushed me into the next tier. So that's awesome. Um, at the lower tiers, there's not a tremendous amount of perks, but there definitely are perks, and like Royal's website has all of those listed. At the Emerald tier, I was getting like welcome water, so there were like bottles of water in my stateroom when I arrived. Um, I was able to attend what they call like a top tier event on board, which is nice. They have like beverages for you. They have live entertainment. It's usually the band from like it was the brass band, their High Seas Orchestra band. And they did a show just for that group. And they also recognize people who are sailing on that voyage who have like higher tier points. And like I honestly don't think that'll ever be me, because there are people who just get to sail all the time, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you've been sailing for like 40 years to get to that tier." And they're like, "Yes, but yeah." So I don't know, maybe in 40 years I'll be one of those people. Who knows? But for now, I just entered diamond level. So with diamond level, the biggest difference is that you start to get complimentary beverages included at diamond level. So that'll be interesting to see like how that functions. You also get access to like the Diamond Club Lounge on board. So I wonder how that's going to be, if that's going to be crowded or not, if that's going to be another quiet spot, like another chill place to sit and read. So like more to come, right? So whenever my next sailing is, I'll have more information about that and what it means going from emerald level to diamond level. But yeah, that is how you go up in level. You just have to sail. You just have to sail. That's the only way to do it that I know of. So that answers that question. Um, let's see. Another question I get is like why I haven't done specialty dining on board. It's there's nothing wrong with specialty dining, and I think that there's a lot of great options. But because of my dietary needs, and for those who might not be aware, I have Crohn's and I follow a diet that's called IBD aid. It's similar to a paleo diet. So because of that, I have a lot of limitations on what I eat. So for me to pay extra to go to specialty dining for them to then have to change the food to meet my dietary needs, and it's not really going to be tremendously different than what I could get in the main dining room. That's sort of my thought process on that is you know, not a tremendously different experience for me because of that. And I've asked like for the ones that for the ships that have like Wonderland dining, I did ask once because I was like, the theming is so whimsical and fun, and I'd love to go there just for that theming. And I asked the host one time when I was on, I think it was Anthem, about how they could accommodate dietary needs. And they basically said, if it was just like one thing, if it was just like no gluten, and that was it, they could probably figure it out. But because I have like layered needs, it was probably not worth my while because there wouldn't be much that they could do to accommodate that. Was sort of the gist of what I took away from that conversation. It's not that they wouldn't try. It's not that they said no because that's not what happened. But the implication was it would be complicated and it might not be the experience that I would want to get out of it. So, yeah, the other restaurants on board, the theming isn't so different than like going to a restaurant on land, right? Like you have like Chops Grill, you have like Jamie's Italian, Izumi. So you have these restaurants, but they're like to me similar to like on land type of restaurants where Wonderland is like a unique dining experience. So that would have been one I would have been interested to try, but it's not going to work for me in my own personal situation. So that's why I tend to stick to the main dining room and Windjammer because I'm able to have my needs met in an easy way. And the other thing is like with the main dining room, your waiters get to know you. They get to know what you like. They get to know, what you want and what your favorites are, and really, really, really like try to go above and beyond. Honestly, some of the hardest working like crew and it's the main dining room staff, because they don't just work that one shift. They work multiple shifts. Some of them work the room service shift also. But it always amazed me how after one sitting, I, like, go back and then they're like, "Oh, Mercury, hi, how are you? Do you want this again tonight?" And it's like, "Oh my gosh, how do you remember my name? Like, we met once." And I'm like, I I'm so personally, I'm terrible with names. It takes me at least 3 times meeting someone for their name to stick in my brain. And, yeah, the wait staff, they every time I've sailed, I'm always like, "How do you remember names so well?" Because the ships, have new people every week or every 5 days or every 3 days, depending on the sailing, and they're amazing. They're amazing. So, yeah, I just stick to the main dining room because I find the food quality to be decent, and they got me covered. They got me covered. It's like I have one conversation with the head waiter, and They make sure they communicate with the chef. Sometimes the chef will come out and talk to me. Sometimes the head waiter is able to cover everything, and it's fine. Um, but they've always been able to meet my needs, and sometimes I never expect this, and I never, ever, ever, ever expect this. But there have been times they've gotten creative for dessert and have found ways to make me no sugar added, gluten-free, dairy-free, treats, which is incredible that they've took the time and effort to try to figure something out for me. And again, that doesn't happen all the time, and I don't expect that to happen for them to do something like that. But because it has happened, I want to recognize the thought and care and dedication of that main dining room staff, because that's one of the reasons I keep selling is it's like it's a safe, comfortable thing for me to do, knowing that I have food limitations, food restrictions, that I know they're gonna work with me to keep my tummy happy during the trip, which is great. It's great. Um, yeah. So those are the bulk of the questions that I get asked, generally about cruising. I haven't seen anyone put any questions in the chat, but if you're watching this, on like, after the live is over and you have any questions, if you put any comments in the video, I will definitely try to get you an answer. I always try to respond to any comments on any of my videos. I'm not really good at responding if you just put an emoji. I don't really know what to say in response to emojis, but if you actually type out a question or, have a comment, I really, really do try to respond to every comment or question that I get on my videos. So, I've been rambling on for about a half hour, so I guess I should probably wrap it up. And thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for watching this on the repeat if that's how you're seeing it. And again, if there's any other questions that you have, leave a comment. And I guess with that, I am done for now. I'll see y'all real soon. And remember, stay inspired by everyone. Take care. And stream.